And the first one on New York's sustainable transport agenda is to be given by Janette Sadik-Khan, who is Commissioner of the Department of Transportation for New York City.
Well, I'm thrilled to be here, and I want to thank Ricky Burdett in particular for inviting me, and of course our host, Wolfgang Novak from Deutsche Bank, for having us all here today. And in particular, I really want to thank New York City's Planning Commissioner, Amanda Burden, who told me about Urban Age about 6 months ago. And she told me it was this terrific place to come and learn new things and new ideas and share practical ideas. And basically, I am an unabashed thief. I basically go around the world stealing ideas that work in other places. So I'm thrilled to be here today to learn about some of the great ideas that have been working in other areas. And I think Governor Sarah did a wonderful job of framing the issue for us. But before I talk a little bit about New York City, I want to know, by a show of hands, how many of you have been to New York City? Excellent, excellent. So I'm working with a knowledgeable audience. Well, I'm here to talk to you a little bit about how some of our new transportation policies are reshaping New York City and the implications that this has for urban development that go beyond just moving people from point A to point B. Though as Transportation Commissioner for New York City, that's certainly a large part of my job. The choices that we make about how we travel on our streets, how we design our streets, what we do with the space between buildings, whether we allocate that space for plazas and sidewalks, or whether we allocate that space for travel lanes for cars, can profoundly affect the economy, the quality of life, the environmental health, and the sustainability of our cities. And in New York City, sustainability is absolutely the watchword for our town. The Urban Age Conference in 2005, I think the theme was New York is almost all right. And it was a question mark, I think, because the question was, they said that the city succeeded in attracting new people and new jobs despite itself. And somebody called it, I think, a mix of muddle and dynamism. And I think really the message today is that much of that has changed. After Mayor Bloomberg was reelected that same year, 2005, the administration undertook a big planning exercise to look at the ways that the city could continue to grow and thrive over the next 25 years. New York had really recovered the 1 million people that we had lost in the 1960s and 1970s, and this city had again become the place to be, to raise a family, to start a business. But the pressure on our infrastructure, on our water mains, on our schools, on housing, had become increasingly evident. We had water mains that were exploding around the city. We didn't even know where the water mains were, and they were exploding around the city. Our streets were deteriorating. People were losing, cavities when they went on the potholes on the streets of New York. And we had a very outdated transit system. It was overcrowded, it was underfunded, it was a mess. And our planners, through that exercise, quickly concluded that the only way to see that New York would continue to grow and thrive over the next 25 years was if we reduced our environmental footprint and if we increased the quality of life in New York City. And that's what led Mayor Bloomberg to launch in April 2007 on Earth Day his sustainability agenda, Plan YC. And that goal is to reduce the carbon footprint in New York City by 30% by the year 2030. And one of the most interesting findings of that exercise was that continued growth in New York City, by attracting 1 million more people to New York City, instead of having them spread out around other parts of the country, had huge dividends, not only for the nation, but also for the planet. Because if we could attract 1 million more people to New York City, where we live transit-oriented, energy-efficient lives, that is the top band on the graph, and it goes a long way to improving the planet. And so as I say to my audiences, if you're really serious about improving the planet and making this a more energy efficient life, then you should just move to New York City. So come to New York City and do your bit for the planet. Transportation quickly moved to the front of the mayor's Plan YC agenda, mostly because he had suggested that we do a congestion pricing program, essentially in the lower half of Manhattan. And although it didn't pass, we got close. The state legislature eventually did not pass it. The proposal occupied the headlines for 2007 and much of 2008 and raised the expectations for a major break in transportation policy. And New York City DOT, since I've been there for 17 months, has worked very hard to translate that new vision, and we're rapidly implementing significant visual and demonstrable quick changes to the streets of New York. So although congestion pricing failed, we learned a lot about the way New Yorkers get around. And two big facts I think are important. Oh, wow, 5 minutes. Okay. 56% of households in New York City don't even have a car. I think that's an important first piece of information. Secondly, only 5% of New Yorkers commute to work by car. So you basically have a city where most of the people are coming by public transit to work in the central business district. So the work we're doing right now by emphasizing public transit, biking, and walking really is the way that most of New Yorkers get around, and we're doing a lot on that end. So at New York City, we elaborated on that theme in our new strategic plan, which is a vision for how it is that we can make this city a better place. And it's got the policies, the programs, and importantly, the benchmarks for how New Yorkers can hold us accountable for a new way of achieving a more sustainable New York. We also put together a world-class streets policy, which is basically reclaiming the streets of New York. We hired Jan Gehl, a well-known urbanist, to have us evaluate how people use our streets. We're very good at measuring how many cars use our streets, but we're not very good at measuring how people use our streets. And so this new program, this strategy, will be used in how we move forward with every single new infrastructure investment going forward. The basic strands of the policy, these are their goals from our strategic plan. The basic goals of our strategy are safety, and traffic fatalities are at an all-time low, mobility, basically using buses and bikes more effectively, and quality design in all streets, and basically using our streets, treating them as the valuable public space that they are. With 6,000 miles of streets, I am basically the largest real estate developer in New York City. Forget about Donald Trump. It's the commissioner of the New York City Department of Transportation. So we have to use those streets more effectively, and we've worked very closely with the Transit Authority for a new select bus service, which will more efficiently move people in the Bronx and on 34th Street, and it's an easy down payment on better mobility, particularly in areas that are underserved by the subway. So we launched the first ever BRT system. We're calling it Select Bus Service. We're going to eventually have 8 new routes across the city. We are moving forward with a bus rapid transit system on 34th Street, and this will save people money over time. The initial routes have seen tremendous increase in ridership and tremendous decreases in travel time, so we're very excited about what's happening already on the streets of New York. Beyond that, we're also moving forward with another cost-effective mobility system, biking. Cycle facilities are inexpensive to build, and they give people nearly door-to-door free commuting. We're building out a very significant network there. We think that the growth in biking is going to be even greater in the future as we move forward, including biking in our new zoning resolutions and a new large-scale bike sharing program where yellow checkered bikes will take their place next to yellow checkered cabs in New York City. So we're also remaking our spaces. This is on Broadway. We claimed 65,000 square feet of pavement, and we transformed it into new public plazas. We've also done this on 23rd Street. You can see this. We just did this very quickly in a 1-month period of time, all of these transformations. We're also moving forward with a more visually appealing city. You can see the a guitar in the upper right-hand corner that was designed by David Byrne, the musician, and we've got those all over the streets of New York. It's very exciting. This is our new bike rack international competition, another David Byrne bike rack in front of Bergdorf Goodman, which is pretty cool. Complete Streets is a new way we're trying to design our streets for all users of the system. 9th Avenue used to be just this big pavement, this roadway racecourse, and we've transformed it with a protected bike lane, shorter crossing distances for pedestrians, loading zones, and it's really been a transformative change on 9th Avenue. We're doing this all across the city. This will now be incorporated in terms of how it is that we design our streets forevermore. All of this has led to, all these investments have had huge returns. We've seen a 35% increase in biking from 2007 to 2008. It's been dramatic, and it has huge health benefits as well as being very, very good for everybody's pocketbook. We took a page out of Bogota and implemented Summer Streets, followed Enrique Peñalosa's successful program there, and took 7 miles of streets from Brooklyn Bridge all the way to 72nd Street on Park Avenue for 3 consecutive Saturdays, had 50,000 people there. We programmed the streets. We had cha-cha, samba, fencing, tennis. It was very exciting. Again, showing people a different way of looking at their streets. We had Jay-Z. My son loved that. That was the most exciting part of my tenure at transportation. But lots of celebrities got in to help promote this very exciting event. We also did it on pedestrian weekends in different neighborhoods over the summer. Again, there's a huge hunger for public space in New York City. Even when we put down the traffic cones, they are instantly taken up. And we are doing everything we can, again, to transform the streets of New York, use them for better mobility, more efficient ways of getting around, and again, making this a more livable city for New York. These are some more of the transformations. That's a little bit about what we're doing on the streets of New York. Thank you.